What are your kind of hopes and fears for what the virus is going to do to the way we think and learn together across
Mm.
communities and across generations?
Well, so I should start with my hopes first. Um, and it's funny, it's been an extraordinary time the past, 6 weeks or so in terms of being a teacher. I think of myself first as a teacher always. It's really made me think about the value of what we do because, in a way, the university, the relationship between learning and university thinking and time and place has totally been refigured in such a quick period of time.
Mm.
We cannot rely on learning happening on campus, and we cannot rely on learning happening on Tuesday afternoons when most people teach their courses or whenever it is in the calendar. So that's completely been refigured. So the university is your study and mine,
Mm.
and the screen and the telephone, and so it's been such an interesting and challenging, difficult, but also massively rewarding experience to continue to teach through the screen, through Zoom, through whatever platform we use, because in a way, through the screen, we look into the lives of our students, the context in which they are trying to learn and trying to write their assignments and so on in very practical ways. We have a window into their lives and the pressures that are on those lives. And what's immediately apparent is that those homes are very, very diverse and different, and the possibility of having a place just to think. I mean, I've spent so much time talking to students, just trying to, in a way, talk through the anxiety and fear that they feel, but also to create a space where they can get on with the job of doing the work,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Mm.
It's come through so strongly and the pressures that they're under. And so the value of being in that conversation and spending time doing it has really been so foremost in my mind. I thought that is really important work. It's time well spent, and everything else can wait until that's done as best as I can do it. So in these conditions and in these circumstances. So it's made me think about those things that are precious, that are what it means to live with ideas and think with others
Mm.
and try and help them think for themselves, and to come up with ways of solving the problems that are both burning in their minds, whether it's the question for the option course that they're doing, or finishing their PhD or preparing for their PhD viva. It's really been an education in the value of that, the value of those conversations and being open to them, and why it's important to put time into them. So that's on the one hand,
Yeah.
that feels hopeful. On the other hand, I think post pandemic, we're in for a very, very, very tough and transformative time. It feels to me that we're on the cusp of a real crisis that many people I speak to inside our game, if you like, are completely in denial about.
Mm.
What's going to happen next September and October if no overseas students come to the UK? What's going to happen? I mean, I think that's going to be the university, the British university, and perhaps specifically the English university, has in a way restyled itself as in a kind of global form.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be world class. Everyone wants to be international.
So we're the kind of sanctified migrant cities.
Exactly. And what happens in the current environment, where there's not only the really justified and important concerns about being healthy and containing the spread of the pandemic until there can a cure can be found. So at the same time, there's this kind of jingoistic and nationalistic rhetoric that's being thrown around, and blame being apportioned. So that's one part of our coming reality, I think. And then I think we've been so stuck, it feels to me, in a very, I'm not even sure it's a 19th century image of what the university is, but the university is a place where people stand at the pulpit of the lectern and they pontificate, and we tell the world about stuff, or we tell students about the world and stuff. Students read, they write essays, they listen regardless of whether or not that's a good way for them to learn or not. And I think, in the current sort of destabilizing of the relationship between learning and place and time, there's a huge task that's before us, how to reimagine a 21st century learning environment, and whether or not universities are able to do that. I just feel it seems so striking to me that on the one hand, every person I speak to who's in their late teens or early 20s tells me about a podcast that they're listening to, but when they sit in a lecture theatre, they find it almost impossible to learn much.
Yeah.
That it seems, that, I don't know, maybe it's just my own sort of yearning for something else, but it does feel like the form and formats of the way in which we go about the business of fostering teaching and learning, or learning and teaching, seems to be completely out of step with the informational environment of contemporary society.
So it goes at that point where in Human Condition, where Arendt says science and the human condition are now not working together. We invented science, we invented thinking, but it's now outpacing our capacity as human beings. The technology is now outpacing our capacity as human beings. And universities have always been one of the places historically where you could stop and think about what a human being was.
Yeah.
And we're not getting that at the moment. We're not getting it because of the crisis, but we're not getting it for other reasons as well.
We're not getting that at all. And, that is what is precious. Arendt is right. That's what's at stake. I've always, just felt we have to hold on to that. Otherwise, everything is gone, And it's not just about, fancy stuff and teaching online. It's not about that at all, I don't think. It's about the movements of imagination and the movements of thinking and learning and the importance actually of being able to weigh information. That's the other thing that I think is such a big threat in our time, where the most powerful man in the world can talk in these kind of bellicose, militaristic terms about, we've got to fight this virus and, the antibiotics aren't working. You're thinking, well, that's because antibiotics won't work, period.
Yeah. The human condition and truth and some hope and good food in South London, people, if you're going to spend your money.
Yeah. Metro Foods. All you need.